Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Escape to Nature. Thank you so much for joining us. It is a beautiful morning in Juma, as you can see, and we've got the lovely Marips. For those of you that were with us on Sunrise Safari, you would know that he was around the dam wall, and now he's come over to here. But we do have one of our wonderful zoomies helping us out on the dam cam. We do apologize if it shakes a little bit. It is very windy, so just try to bear with us. But of course, we do want to keep an eye on him for as long as we can. But my name is Lisa, and I am the waterhole naturalist for today. And I'm hoping that we'll see a lot of animals or interactions today. But even if we don't, this has completely made my day. I don't know if you'll all agree with me. But remember, just like Sunrise Safari and Sunset Safari, we are live right now as this is happening in Juma. So please do send through your comments, your questions, your suggestions. We would love to hear from you, and hopefully the wind dies down a little bit, just so that we can observe this beautiful cat in his full glory. And for those of you that are not familiar with him, he is a very popular cat here at Juma, and we see him quite often on the safaris, but he's also referred to as Mr. Fluffy Ears. And Steve did have him here earlier on, but luckily, thank you technology, we get to still watch him. How beautiful is he? And for a minute, we were contemplating, if he moves off to the left now, we won't be able to keep up with him. And I literally said to our zoomies, please just lie down, kitty cat. And he did just that. You know, it's not always that the animals listen to us, so we are super grateful. But as I say, please do get in touch with us. We would love to hear from you throughout Escape to Nature. If you have any questions about the animals or about the naturalists, the locations, you are more than welcome to get in touch with us. Leopard lover, good morning. So good to hear from you. I'm sure you are loving this. But thank you. I wish I could take the credit, but of course, it is Maribs himself that decided to actually stick around for us. And as I say, it is our awesome zoomies that are helping us monitor and actually control the Juma Dam Cam. So thank you. I appreciate it. And it definitely is a brilliant intro. When I got to the office this morning, Nadine told me, "Oh, Lisa, you might have Marips for Escape to Nature." And I thought, ugh, I'm not even going to try to get my hopes up, because generally with a cat, you know, they try and evade me, especially on the Juma Dam Cam. So I thought, you know what? Let me just take everything as it comes. And look at this. We are literally watching a leopard, 9:30 in the morning, just chilling it out at this beautiful, beautiful waterhole. And hopefully he sticks around. That will really be absolutely amazing. But keep them coming, leopard lover, everyone else. We would love to hear from you, your questions, your comments. Remember, safari is a two-way relationship, and I need all of you to be able to have as much fun as possible. But I'm not going to lie, I'm having a lot of fun right now. Just watching this beautiful cat. How majestic is he? And again, we do apologize. The wind is a bit rough. Just try to bear with us. But hopefully it dies down and we can actually just check him out. Even if he is not doing anything, being active. What an awesome and massive privilege it is to be able to watch all of these animals. The Egyptian geese, the leopards, all of the amazing animals. Kevin, good morning. I love him too. He's literally just chilling it out. As I say, when Steve still had him, he was a little bit off to the left and he was still sitting. So contemplating, should I move around? Should I not? And I was very ferociously praying that please, 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 just for once. Because I have had this beautiful cat twice actually. When I just started for Wild Earth, or at Wild Earth, I had him on a sunset safari and Cedric was able to relocate him. And the other day we had him in a tree and literally saw the silhouette of him getting down the tree and did not see him after that again. But I know Trishala also had him the other day on Escape to Nature, so this is absolutely amazing. I am so, so grateful for this. And it just goes to show, expect the unexpected. When I was driving to work this morning, I would not have thought that this is what we are going to be starting with. But for those of you that are perhaps new to discovering and exploring the interesting things about wildlife, leopards are not endangered animals. A lot of people think they are endangered because you don't find them that easily. They are just very, very clever and successful when it comes to evading vehicles, other predators. And it's interesting if you think about it. I mean, if you look at a pride of lions, they are successful for so many reasons, but one of them, I would say probably the biggest success for them is the fact that they generally have numbers. So when it comes to hunting, when it comes to defending, all of that. But a leopard is a solitary animal. Unless they are mating, which only also lasts for a couple of days, or unless it is perhaps a female with cubs, or sub-adults even, you are not going to see a lot of leopards together. I remember about 3 years ago, I had a brilliant sighting of a female leopard with two of her sub-adults, but they were actually quite old, I would have thought, for them to still be with her, and all three of them were on an impala kill, and it was just, it was amazing. But we really worked for that sighting as well. My guest and I left the lodge at 4 o'clock in the morning. Of course, it's a very big risk. You don't know if you are going to find them, if you're not going to find them. And funny enough, we sat with those leopards for, I think, an hour and a half or so. And literally as the game vehicles started coming out for safari, they left. So we were literally the only people to see those 3 leopards on a kill, which was brilliant. But overall, these cats are just, I know a lot of you are very familiar with all of the Djuma cats, Maribs, Tlalamba, Mulwati, Shidulu, all of them. But it's amazing to think that we are watching this cat out in the open right now. Thankfully, it is still very green and lush, so there is still a lot of shade around as well. But you never know. Perhaps he becomes hungry today. What will happen? And we'll just monitor the wind a little bit. If it dies down a little bit, we will zoom in on him. But for now, as soon as we start zooming, then the wind makes it very, very shaky. So that is the only reason we are not taking a close-up of him right now. So just bear with us. Hopefully the wind works with us. No. Oh, I thought he's going to stalk something. Ian, good morning. You would like to know if he's going to establish a territory soon. It's difficult to say. And the only reason I say that is because animals have a mind of their own. I personally think he will. He's been moving around a lot and so forth. But of course, we do see him quite frequently. If we see a leopard on Wild Earth at Djuma, it's generally Maribs. For the most part, I would say, from my personal experience, what I've seen. But it's been very interesting to monitor and observe him. There is still a lot of submission. A while ago, we had a sighting of him and Mulwati. And Mulwati literally also came up the tree. It was probably one of the most adorable things I've ever seen. And the submission in Marib's whole body behavior and language, his ears immediately went down. His eyes became, he literally looked like Puss in Boots from Shrek. So there's definitely still that submission. And I know he's still, a lot of the times when he is moving around and looking to mark and so forth, there's definitely still some areas that he is avoiding. But he is becoming a big male leopard. And I'm sure many of you would agree with me. Just in the past 6 months or so, there definitely has been a change in his confidence, the way he's moving around, the areas he's maneuvering to or traversing on as well. So I personally would say that, Ian, but again, I am not in the mind of this leopard. So that is literally just my own personal opinion. But you never know. It's been so incredible getting to know this cat. And as I say, I've only been doing so religiously for the past 6 months. But I know a lot of our viewers are so familiar with these animals. Not just the leopards, the hyenas, the elephants. And it's amazing to think that we are fortunate to be able to monitor them and observe them. Right now, he's got no clue that we are watching him, which is brilliant. He is literally just being a leopard right now. Oh, okay, now you look at us. So you do know. But as I say, just bear with us. We'll just wait for the wind to die down a little bit and then hopefully we can take a closer look. But that is just making it a little bit challenging for us right now. And with leopards, as I say, they are solitary animals. When I was in the Sabi Sand now, my better half kept asking me, you have to look in the trees, you have to look in the trees. And I said, yes, we do have to look in the trees. But for a leopard, you literally have to look everywhere. You have to look on termite mounds, in the trees, under a bush, in a bush. And I think that's what also makes it so brilliant that we do get to see them when we do, because I think we probably drive past 5 leopards at least one safari. If they don't want to be seen, they will not be seen. And many of you know this, you've seen this. Oh, what are you hearing? But interestingly enough, you are more likely to find a leopard on the ground as opposed to in a tree. But that is also one of the things that make them so successful in terms of evading other predators. Because if lions find a leopard, they'll kill it. If they gang up on it, if they are strong enough, if the leopard is not quick enough, they will definitely kill it. And it's horrible. There's even been cases where hyenas kill leopards and the other way around. But at the end of the day, out here, it's all about competition. If you are something else that could potentially be decreasing the menu numbers, then you will definitely be dealt with. But this cat particularly, I'm sure many of you have seen on safari as well. He'll literally walk right past a pride of lions, but obviously taking a big loop. So as I say, for me personally, he's definitely gained a lot of confidence as well with moving around, marking. But I think when it comes to his father, Mulwati, there's still a lot of respect, which is incredible if you think about it. How does that animal know, okay, well, I know you to some degree. Is it the pheromones? What do you think it is? And, you know, again, we can open a whole can of worms with emotional intelligence and all that when it comes to animals, but surely they must know to some extent. They must. I mean, Shidulu, as I said the other day, she was dragging a duikerkill to her den, and according to the ranger, she just does have the one cub left. But how does that animal realize, okay, no, I had 2 or I had 3 or 4, whatever the case is, with all of the animals, and they now know, okay, well, I've lost one, so now I've just got one to feed. They don't look for that animal anymore. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I'm just so thrilled. So thrilled to be spending some time with this beautiful cat.
Thanks to our wonderful Wild Earth explorers, Wild Earth Kids is back. Your monthly subscriptions have allowed us to relaunch Wild Earth Schools on a weekly basis, every Wednesday for the first hour of the Sunset Safari.
You guys bring a smile to my face every single day.
Sign your class up for a special virtual field trip to Africa, because touching the lives of the future protectors of our Earth truly matters.
Oh, man, you are just beautiful. Beautiful. And if you are not familiar with him, please do yourself a favor and go check him out on our social media and on the website. There's a lot of photos and screenshots. He is an absolutely beautiful cat. And most leopards are. I think I've only ever seen 2 not so pretty leopards in my life. But they do also, over their lifetime, they get a lot of battle scars, especially the males. Females as well. I've seen 2 female leopards go at it. It was quite something to see. But they get a lot of battle wounds over time, just like lions as well. As I say, out here, everything is about fighting for yourself. Every animal for themselves. Of course, except for, elephants and those bigger animals, buffaloes. But especially something like a leopard, even a cheetah, even at times the hyenas. There's so many risks out here that they have to face. So right now he's listening to everything. And apparently the waterbuck mom and baby were around earlier on, so hopefully they've taken off. Hopefully they've either seen him or heard him or smelled him, and they moved into the opposite direction. Because I'm not ready to bid farewell to our baby waterbuck. But again, if it happens, it's nature. There's nothing that we can do about it. He has to eat just like the waterbuck has to eat. Oof, you must be loving this breeze. No, don't you dare. Don't you dare start yawning. Hannah, you would like to know if I've ever seen a leopard swimming. Not for myself in real life, I'm sad to say. However, I've seen a lot of footage. I think it was last year or the year before. If I'm not mistaken, it was in Mala Mala, where a female leopard crossed a river system and her cubs followed, and the one was really struggling, but they were still tiny cubs. And she actually went back in and helped them and everything. So Hannah, not for myself, I would give my left pinky to see that. But there's a lot of footage. If you actually delve into, documentaries and the various just videos that people see when they go to Kruger or when they visit a private game reserve like Djuma. That's why I say we always have to sort of, share our experiences with each other. If you've had an amazing leopard experience, please tell me. I would love to learn and hear all about it. What do you see? What do you see? I don't hope you're trying to stalk one of the lesser spotted Homo sapiens at the camp. But of course, speaking of which as well, remember you can always send us your videos as well. Even if you think it's not that fantastic, I can promise you there are things that all of you have seen that us as naturalists are still yearning to see. So please do send us your videos. Of course, you can earn some money. You can see your name in the credits. And you can go check that out on our website and just check out the content creator. What do you see, lovely? Oh no. Now you are very relaxed. And just to keep everyone posted, I've got Okokoyo in front of me as well. So I will definitely keep you posted if anything happens there. But if all of you are okay with it, we'll spend as much time as possible as we can with him, because it's not something we see every day, especially on Escape to Nature, and especially when I'm the waterhole naturalist. It's like, I don't know if Wild Earth are secretly sending our rotations to the animals, and then they tell the elephants, okay guys, Lisa is on today, you're all welcome to come join the waterholes. All right, Lisa's here today, leopards, stay away. But as I say, please just bear with us. We can control a lot of things, but unfortunately the weather is not one of them. So the wind is just making it a little bit tricky, but we will zoom in on him as soon as we can. And we feel confident that we won't shake around and give you all whiplash. Where are you going? Stop, lie down, lie down. I honestly would not have known there's a leopard. If I was zooming right now and just checking out the Djuma Dam cam, unless he's moving of course, but otherwise you would not know there's a leopard there. And that's why I say, every day there's probably something around that we are missing. Whether it's a predator or an animal that we don't see too often, even a pangolin perhaps. Maribs, I do not feel like fighting today, please. Sadiwa, the beautiful voice in my ear, saying we have to go. Kss, 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 kss. Here, kitty, 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 kitty. Perhaps we should sing him soft, kitty. Just look at that. You would never know there's a leopard now. If Steve did not have him initially on Sunrise Safari, it blows my mind. And again, I've been doing this for about 11, 12 years, and to this day, it still breaks my brain how incredible these animals are when it comes to their camouflage, the way they position themselves. Ooh, ooh, where you going? Where you going, boy? Oh, you are just majestic. I feel like you're thirsty. Aren't you thirsty? And you can see nose constantly on the ground as he's moving around. The thing is with animals, if they miss a certain scent mark, if there's been territory that's been marked by another male or even a lion, something like that, and they miss it, which is not always probable unless the wind is not in their favor, but their senses are, of course, so incredible. But they also have to constantly smell around, move around, because if you miss that and you accidentally, whoopsie, here's another leopard that lives here, it is going to be problematic for that animal. Oh, that's beautiful. Aren't you just the best? And it really is, I'm sure a lot of you will agree with me that have domestic dogs or cats or pets or whatever at home. There's definitely so many similarities. When you look at something that lives in the wild, like Maribs, and you take your own domestic cat, or like the African wild dogs that we see sometimes on safari, or even Escape to Nature, and you look at your own domestic dogs, the characteristics, the behaviors, it's just incredible how everything is connected. Whether it's a domestic animal or a wild animal. For me personally, I recently, when was this? Tuesday, I went to go get my cat because about 6 months ago we moved into a new place and we had to get approval and everything. And eventually we decided, no, she's got to come live with us. But even just looking at Maribs now, there's so much that I see of her as well that she's doing. She's constantly, of course it's a new area now, but she's constantly also got her nose on the ground when she's walking around, discovering, exploring. When they groom themselves, just, oh man, it's incredible. But please do let me know how this makes you feel. I know it's not something we see often on Escape to Nature specifically. So I would love to know what you think about this. But this is definitely one of my favorites of the leopards when it comes to this beautiful, beautiful location in the Sabi Sand. But let me know who's your favorite. I know many of you have been following us for years. Even if it is one of the late legends, I would love to hear from you and why. I think for me, one of the obvious things that I love about my ribs is that tongue that he has. He's always sticking his tongue out. And he's just a beautiful cat. But I think just merely because it's the first cat that I saw on the dam cams, or the first leopard, I should say. So I think from that day forward, he really stole my heart. I also love Shadulu, Tlalamba. You see, this is why I shouldn't start, because I really love all of them. Mulwati. But let me know who's your favorite leopard at Djuma and why. What is it that they do, or is it just the way that they look? Alrighty, but we are going to be keeping an eye on him. I think for now, let's head on over to Ukukuyo. Hopefully the wind dies down over here. Look at this. Springbok, oryx, zebras, kudus. Ooh, I wonder if one of those kudus are Oki, our kudu calf. And do not fret, I do still have my eyes on the Djuma Dam cam. Our zoomies are still helping us out over there. So I will definitely keep you posted. As I say, the wind is just picking up a little bit, so it's becoming a little bit difficult. But what a magnificent scene it is over here as well. So these antelopes that we have closest to us, these are Springbok. Oh, and can you believe how quickly these lambs are growing up? Amazing. Ooh, these zebras are very excited. No, it is currently fighting season for the zebras. The stallions do have to establish the dominance. And we'll start seeing that with the antelopes as well, probably within the next few months. Zebras do, however, gestate longer than the antelopes. They've got about 11-12 month gestation, whereas the antelopes, a lot of them are 6 months, 7, 8, 9 months. So the zebras do start a little earlier on. So you'll hear a lot of vocalization. Oh goodness, vocalization from them still. And they are right now kicking each other and biting each other and really just going at it. But what a beautiful day in Ukukuyo. Hopefully it becomes very hot and the animals will all want to come to the waterhole to cool off, to get a drink. And hopefully we'll get to see that elephant herd again with a very, very tiny baby that we saw on Monday. So peaceful. But as I say, please do stay in touch with us today. We would love to hear from all of you. But for now, I'm going to send you over to Andrew in Amakala so you can hear from him.
Thanks very much, Lisa, and good morning to everybody. Welcome again to Amakhala here in the Eastern Cape. I hope everyone's doing very well and excited for the Escape to Nature experience out here. So far, we've got a huge group of blesbok just milling around over there. Beautiful. Hello again, everybody. My name's Andrew, and Morgan is still behind camera. We are doing very well today. We are in Carnarvondale, so we're hoping to find Phumelela, the female cheetah. So keep your fingers crossed on that front. Hopefully, we're going to get her. It's been a long time since we've been able to give you an update on Phumelela, so maybe today's the day. So we've got a nice group of blesbok here. Wow, there's lots of them. And a black wildebeest as well, sitting in the middle-ish. Yo, there must be about 30 or so blesbok over here, so definitely a very successful group. They're doing very well here. Oh, look at those, look at that. Those blesboks are having a go at each other, and one sort of just kicked up its hind legs. Now, it seems like they've stopped for now. This is normal with the antelopes. They have a go at each other, and the next thing, everything calms down. Then they have another go at each other, and so on and so on. Some very, very large rams in this group with the blesbok. I'm pretty sure there's going to be quite a lot of females that are ready to breed in this group over here. So these males are competing. But blesbok actually do have a rutting season. Where are we now? We are in April now. So it's sort of the time for that. Just want to grab my binoculars here. I just want to have a look at something. Jared, I have seen antelopes fighting quite seriously. My biggest, what are those blesboks looking at there? My biggest fight that I've seen with the antelopes was waterbuck. It was incredible to watch waterbuck fighting because they thrash each other. They try and stab each other, and when they smash the horns upon each other, especially with waterbuck, it's very loud, and you can just hear that power that follows. Look at this, they're just chasing each other around and about here. There's quite a few of last year's rams here, or last year's lambs, should I rather say. Myself and Morgan were quite lucky the other day. We saw on one of the neighboring sides of us, on the our southern neighbors, basically to Amakhala, they have a group of blesbok out there as well. And we saw two white ones, and they were pitch white, almost like a t-shirt, you know, those white t-shirts that you wear. Now, if I was an antelope, I would not want to be white, that's for sure. I'd like to be camouflaged. So it's, we don't see it too much here with these blesbok, but I know here in Carnarvondale, black springbuck has been seen from time to time. I've been lucky in my life. I've seen a white buffalo before, not here in Amakhala. Another game reserve, yeah, closer to the Kenton-on-Sea coastline, that sort of area. Never seen that before, a white buffalo. I'm just going to scan in the distance. I just want to see if we don't see this beautiful female cheetah lying under one of these bushes over here. You just never know. You've got to look hard. Because I'm sure you've all seen the three amigos, how slender they are. And when they lay on the ground, they're almost gone. So you can imagine for a female cheetah that's a lot smaller and a lot more slender, it's not easy to see. Lionel, that's a good question. So yeah, they put in the same breakdown, the Alcelaphinae, which means a sloping back antelope. So blesbuck, red hartebeest, even the wildebeest. And there's one more, I just got to think of it now. Tsessebe antelope, or tsetsebe, depends how you want to pronounce it. We don't get any tsetsebe out here. And these are antelopes that have got sloping backs, so sort of the front section of their body is a bit heavier than their hind section of their body. And then you get other breakdowns like the Strachelaphinae, and that's going to be example like kudu and bushbuck and nyala, that's referring to the spiraled horns. So yeah, these antelopes are all broken down into their own categories depending on certain characteristics that makes them alike. And that's how taxonomy works. Taxonomy is a difficult thing to understand. But when we do our FAGASA qualifications, when people want to become guides and they start on a junior level, you really need to study the taxonomy side of things. You need to know how animals are placed in groupings and for what reasons. Sometimes it doesn't even seem like the animals have got anything that are similar. And a good example is going to be, elephant and hyrax. They are said to be closest relative to elephant. And if you don't know what a hyrax is, that's going to be a dassie, almost like a giant gerbil in a way. And characteristics that they share that are alike are extremely long gestations. So the period in which the baby forms in the womb is a very long time. Foot structure is identical to that of elephants as well, where the toes come in at an angle, very flat padded. And there's one more, actually two more. The mammary gland situated in the front of the body, between the front legs. Whereas the rest of the wildlife, where are those mammary glands? Between the back legs. And then, of course, the elephants have got tusks. We know this. But believe it or not, hyraxes or dassies, when they yawn, have a good look inside their mouth. You should see tusks inside the mouth. You got a jackal. Ah, nice one. Oh, right here. I'm busy scanning far away with my binoculars. There's a black-backed jackal walking around here. This is a big one. This jackal's on a scent over here. I don't know what this jackal has smelt. But being in an open environment here, there's going to be plenty of rodents, such as the striped field mouse. I think that's going to be the most common. And that's actually a majority of the jackal's diet is going to be those small rodents. And insects as well. Now this jackal is very full. Its stomach is big. Ryan, thank you. But it's not my eye, it's Morgan's eye. He's got a sharp eye. Yesterday he spotted the cheetahs on top of the hill. And that's just the great thing about, having a two-man sort of workspace over here, myself and Morgan, or any other cam op, is that we help each other look for animals. Oh, the jackal just took a seat now. There used to be an aardvark that was seen out here in Carnarvondale. I know Lauren looked hard for that aardvark but never found it. Kelly Ann, many. There's going to be many animals I've driven past. Oh, many, many, many. I would hate to think, actually. I think I'd be shocked if I could have a list of all the animals that I've driven past. But I do remember once here in Amakala, a good few years ago, I had some guests. And they tapped me on the shoulder and they said, no, they've seen lions. And I said, no, I'm sure you haven't. Where are they? And I don't know how this guest managed to spot this lion. We could just see the tips of the ears sticking out. And this lady actually spotted it. I don't remember her name. I remember once I drove right past an elephant. But then again, when elephants are in these thickets and they're sitting still, sometimes you don't know that they're there. You can't really see them. And as we drove away, we heard the branch break. And I turned around and there was an elephant bull. And you just saw the top of his head. Even giraffes, they can camouflage and they can blend in very well. And if you do go on safari and you think to yourself, right, elephants, giraffes, those big animals, we're definitely going to spot them. No problem. They're going to stand out like a sore thumb. It's not always the case. I mean, people do check out of these lodges and they often come forward and they say, well, we had no idea that some of these animals, being big and great, they can really blend in. I'm sure Lisa will touch base as well. She's an experienced field guide herself for many years. And I'd love for her to touch base on animals that she's driven past, that she knew about, versus that she didn't know about. So in this area of Carnarvondale, it's actually quite a nice area. There's actually a lodge here in Carnarvondale called Quatermain's Lodge. And it's a very rustic tented camp with the 1920 settler style. We actually went there the other night and I joined Rian and had a chat with him. Beautiful camp, absolutely beautiful. And that's what I love about Amakala and appreciate so much about this reserve is that all the lodges are different. They offer a different experience. And each lodge is 100% unique. Now, I just got a few birds that are calling. I can hear a common fiscal shrike squawking away. Veld orca, hyenas being relative to civet and mongoose. I think I got that correctly. Well, hyenas are not at all related to civets and mongoose and things like that. Hyenas are actually in sort of a breakdown of their own, Hyenidae. And if you look at mongoose, genets, what else is the other one? Civets, they put into the Viveridae. So viverid is an animal that's got a very elongated body and is built close to the ground. Much like, you see with mongoose, civet is a classic example, very elongated body. It's a big animal, civet, but it's still got a very elongated body, and its body is very close to the ground. Same as meerkats and so on. Are they trying to mate down there, Morgan? There's blesbok down there. So that group of blesbok over there on the far left-hand side, those two that are at the end there. I just want to see, I saw a little bit of mounting happening here. But veld orca, no, hyenas are sort of in their category of their own, and aardwolf, I believe, has been placed back into that category, whereas aardwolf, for many years, they were actually taken out and put into their own little breakdown. But if you look at aardwolf and you look at hyena, they are very similar, a very deep sloping back. The funny thing about an aardwolf is that they are 100% insectivores. And the sad thing about, the aardwolf population, at one point in time, aardwolf populations plummeted. They really, really decreased to the point where there were just not enough left. And the reason for that was in cattle farming areas, cattle die sometimes. It happens every day. And then maggots get inside the stomachs. It was observed that the aardwolf was there and believed that the aardwolf killed the cow or the sheep, whatever the case may be, and was quickly persecuted for that reason. But it became knowledge that they were not killing any of the cows or the goats or sheep. What they were doing was they were opening the stomachs in order to get to the maggots that were inside the stomach, and they were eating on those little grubs. Now people realized that they made a terrible, terrible mistake. But aardwolf populations are increasing quite nicely. We do see them on Amakhala, Carnarvondale, Main Reserve side, as well as the Northerns. Some of the best aardwolf sightings I had was at the Kalahari. No shortage of aardwolf out there.
Flora lovers? Don't miss Wild Earth's botanical pinnacle of the year. Join our resident botanists, Steve and Trishala, for the Flora Fest. 3 afternoon drives from the 13th till the 15th of April, celebrating Plant Appreciation Day and Day of the Mushroom. Wild Earth, it's in your nature.
Okay, I'm just going to do a quick side-to-side scan here. We actually know of a secretary bird couple somewhere in Carnarvondale here. And it seems like they're beginning to nest again, which is very cool. Oh, Felt Orca, you're very welcome. No, thank you for challenging the mind as well. There's so many different things about nature, so many different aspects, and some of it are quite difficult. For me, taxonomy was always the tricky one. Wow, taxonomy is not easy. And Lisa, let us know what you think about taxonomy. It's very much needed because we need to understand how animals are similar and put into similar families and so on. Some of them are so obvious, like if you look at the cats, it's blatantly obvious that they're related. Let's just point out a few bird calls. So I can hear a red-faced mouse bird. We saw a Denham's bustard earlier on before we got into Carnarvondale. It's a huge bustard. And you see them in flight. It's very impressive. Oh, great. So Lauren has found something with spots. So I'm going to keep you guessing, but let's head off to her in the meantime.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, nope, I'm ahead of time again. Apologies, it is good morning. I feel like I have been up forever. But we have had a really good start to our morning because we have very different spots to what Lisa had earlier in Juma. She had a leopard, and we are sitting here with a cheetah who is gazing across the grasslands, probably looking for some delicious lunch, I would imagine, or maybe even breakfast. My time is all out this morning. But good morning, my name is Lauren. I have Rian on camera, and we're going to try and spend as much time as we can with this cheetah. They are diurnal, or primarily diurnal, which means they might actually get very active. He might move, he may even hunt. He also may not, but let's sit and spend some time with them this morning. There's still a nip in the air. It's not warm. Rian wants to be in the shade, but I feel like I need a little bit more sun. It's not a glorious warm morning yet. It is definitely going to warm up, I'm sure of it. However, it's not warm yet. It was a really, really chilly morning. The mornings are getting colder and colder as we slowly make our way into winter. You can see, I think this is a boy cheetah. I'm pretty sure it is. We will double check all that when he moves, but you can see that he's positioned a little bit in the shade, but he is also trying to get some sun. It was probably a cold night for him too. I think he's falling asleep. Ashton, yes, a Madikwe cheetah again. We've actually been quite lucky with cheetah, Rian and I. So yes, it's very much a treat. And even if he doesn't move much and he doesn't do much, it's still lovely to spend time with them, sort of dive deep into discussions about a cheetah and just spend time with an animal that you don't get to spend time with every single day. But there are lots of cheetah around Madikwe. They do monitor them, they do wear collars, and that's because they are an endangered species. And A lot of them have been reintroduced, and it is important just to monitor them. If you don't collar them in a situation like this, they would never be able to know, has that he's got his eyes closed, sweet. Hello, you. Are you sleepy? If we didn't know where they are, then it would be impossible to monitor them. Although you could probably identify them from spot patterns, it would be impossible to actually monitor them, to know if the reintroduction has been successful, and to sort of keep an eye on the population numbers. Are they increasing? Has there been any births? Has there been any deaths? With a sort of endangered animal that you're putting a lot of effort into, and there's a lot of sort of conservation efforts, finance going into trying to save this animal, it's definitely worth trying to get information on. Are your efforts being successful? Do you need to change what you're doing? Is it the wrong habitat? Are the lions just constantly killing the cheetahs? There's so much information that you can glean from just knowing its whereabouts. You can see the butterflies are dancing. They'll be overjoyed that the sun is out. However, I must say, as we sort of really slide into winter, the butterfly numbers and diversity are just going to decrease dramatically. The insect life is just going to change. It's going to become very quiet at night time. No more frogs singing their hearts out. No more crickets. No more sort of buzz of all the insects. It's really going to change. Marilla Shortcake, you nailed it. They're both cats. So, in a way, they are both part of the Felidae family. However, they're not closely related. They're definitely a lot more closer than cats and dogs, for example, but not closely related. Leopards are classified as Panthera. And the Panthera genus is your big cats. That's what we call the big cats. And he's falling asleep. Sorry, I just find that adorable. Cheetahs are not. They're not classified as big cats. I have heard people say that they are the lesser cats, and I really, really hate that phrase. I can't stand it. You won't hear me use it like that. They are in a genus of their own, and it's actually just the cheetahs that are in this genus because, of course, cheetahs have evolved to be very specialized and to be very, very specialized at speed. So if you think of the Panthera genus, which is your leopard, your lion, your tiger, the jaguar, and the snow leopard, they are the five that make up Panthera. But the cheetah is the only one that's in Acinonyx genus, and they do say that its closest relative, although it's not that close, is the cougar. But basically, they're on their own. They're in their own genus, but overall, they do make up the Felidae grouping of animals. So they are cats, you nailed it, Marula Shortcake, but that's really about as close as you're going to get when it comes to sort of genetics. I read a really interesting article. I went over this the other day online, and it is by the Mara Miru project, a lady that we used to work with when we broadcasted from the Mara, which feels like a long time ago now, and she is one of the resident cheetah experts. And she wrote a really interesting article about comparisons between cheetahs and canids. Canids are your dogs. And she said, although cheetahs are felids, a cat, there are actually a lot of similarities with cheetahs and the dogs. They are not dogs. She's not saying that. She's just saying that there are a lot of similarities from the milk that they produce, behavior, sensory apparatus, skeleton. And that sort of sets cheetahs apart. If you think of Mareebs that you just saw in Juma, he really doesn't look at all, in my opinion, like a cheetah. Yes, they're a similar color and they have spots. But other than that, they're very, very different species that look different, have different specializations, hunt differently, behave differently, have different lifestyles. Although they sort of ebb and flow through the same habitat. They share habitats, but that's about it. I like to think of sort of all the predators as a big, big, huge slice of pizza. You know, those big, massive pizzas that you get in America that have like what feels like 20 plus slices. Instead of saying the word hierarchy, I find hierarchy just suggests power and putting one animal above another. Whereas if you think of it like a big sort of pizza, one of those massive pizzas, every mammalian predator fits in. It has its own slice. It fits into the overall picture. Yes, lions are the strongest, and they are the sort of apex predator, but they're not the fastest. They're not that good at climbing. Yes, they can climb, but they're nowhere near as good as leopards. They don't excel at everything. And that's because every species out here, we're using mammalian predators as an example, but this could apply across the board. They have their unique specializations, which allows them to survive and thrive in the habitat. If cheetahs were built like leopards, they could climb trees. I mean, they can jump up trees, but I mean really climb like a leopard. Leopards are arboreal and they hoist their kills. Cheetahs don't do that. And they were extremely muscular and powerful, then they wouldn't be able to run as fast. Then they wouldn't have their superpower. They would be more like a lion or a leopard, but they wouldn't be like a cheetah at all. And therefore, the competition would be too high. The stakes would be too high. In order for all these similar species that are related to navigate and fit into a habitat, they've got to have their own way to survive. So if you think of cheetahs, they're highly visual. Yes, they are also chemical, but to hunt, they're highly visual. They actually have a visual field span of about 200 to 210 degrees versus our about 140 in humans. And it can isolate the prey over long distances. I think it's up to 5 Ks. It can isolate exactly which individual it wants. And it hones in on that individual, and using its vision, it then hunts. Lions and leopards are more chemical, and they focus on audio a lot more than visual. Cheetahs hunt during the day. Primarily, lions and leopards primarily hunt by night. So cheetahs have sort of separated themselves to be able to hunt during the day, to avoid lions, leopards, hyenas, to keep themselves safe. They don't need to hoist. They don't need to have that power of a leopard because they're fast, they kill their prey, and they eat it right there on the spot. So to be able to hoist, you're going to have to be heavier. You're going to have a stronger skeleton, a bigger scapula. Currently, a cheetah's scapula is built in like a wolf, like a canid, rather than out like a leopard. It's going to have more muscles in order to have the power to climb. It's going to have those really sharp talons that are kept in protective sheaths. And to have those ability, it would mean it would not have the ability to run as fast as they can. They are equipped to be the fastest animal out here. Everything about them is for speed, and that's what makes a cheetah a cheetah. There's a real sort of nice breeze coming through today, which is lovely when it's hot, but it's not that hot yet. I'm actually quite chilly sitting here. I need to put myself in the sun and get Rihanna in the shade for now. And there's a possibility this cheetah might sleep all day. Who knows? There's also a possibility that he might not. But as he puts his head down to snooze, I think let's just sit here and enjoy this moment. I wonder if we will get any activity from this boy. We're right on the eastern fence line. It's not quite the grasslands area. It's not quite so open. Yes, it looks really grassy, but it's actually quite densely packed with thickets and clumps of shrubbery. Sycamores, sweet thorns. And therefore it doesn't seem initially ideal for a cheetah to hunt. Yet of course he could just be wandering through, exploring. Although cheetahs definitely do prefer the big open areas. And it doesn't mean they need to hunt in these terrains. We actually witnessed a female cheetah hunting in the real sort of rocky outcrops right in the northwest. And we're actually moving lodges on Saturday, or is it Sunday? It's at the weekend, and we'll be right in the center of Madikwe, and hopefully that will mean we'll have access to the northwest again. Northwest got my heart, so that we can show you even more of this incredibly vast reserve. There are areas that I haven't even been, and there are definitely areas that we just haven't been able to show you, but it's so diverse. I'm not sure what you mean really about unique in terms of their denning practice. No, not really. They will den and they will keep their cubs stashed away, which is very similar to lions, leopards, hyenas. The cubs are born altricial, which is very common among the cats, just meaning that they're born underdeveloped. They're not ready to sort of jump on their feet within the first 10 minutes like zebras. That's very precocial. So they're very altricial. They need to be stashed away. They need to develop. They need to spend a lot of time suckling before they'll get mobile and before they'll move with mom. So normally sort of cheetahs will be stashed in either really bushy thickets, burrows, rock cavities, really tall grass, depending on where the cheetah is, depending on what it is that they have to utilize, depending on the habitat. So I wouldn't say there's anything unique about their denning practice. I mean, a real newborn cub can really only move enough to sort of reach mum's mammary glands. And that is it. They're really, really helpless when they're first born, which is really cute. So we're going to sit with our beautiful cheetah and hope that we get some movement. And we're going to send you back over to another spotted cat.
Thank you and welcome back. As you can see, our Prince of Djuma is on the move. Finally, he took a good nap and he looked around a little bit, listened constantly, and finally gave a yawn now. I just want to see if he it seems like he's going down again. But I'm not complaining. He is luckily sticking around in open areas for us. And again, I do apologize for the wind, even though it's not something that we can control. If the camera shakes a little bit, the wind is quite profuse in Djuma today. But I thought, let us quickly come on over to Djuma just in case he disappears. But luckily, he did not. He is being such a good sport today, which is amazing. To think that we've seen cheetah and leopard. I don't think that's ever happened before on Escape to Nature. I could be wrong, but I do not think so. But there is our beautiful boy Maribs. And again, I would still love to hear from all of you what, or who, not what, who is your favorite leopard? And it can also be one of the late legends of Djuma, goodness, struggling to English. One of the late legends of Djuma. And why are they your favorite? As I say, Maribs is my favorite, Mowati, Tlalamba, Capona, I think it was. I've only ever seen her once since I've been at Wild Earth, but there are quite a few characters. But how amazing is this? He's just sticking to the open for us. He hasn't gone under a bush once. He's really being such a good sport today. I'm so grateful for this. This has definitely made my day. And I do still look around every now and again while I'm controlling the Djuma Dam cam, so don't fret. There's nothing else around yet. And of course I do also have my eyes on Ukukuyo. Apart from our zebras and springbok and wildebeest, there's not been much change. But just look at that. If we did not know there's a leopard lurking about today, you would very easily miss that. Even though it is out in the open, I mean, that camouflage is brilliant. And to us, that's see perfect color and detail. And if you think about comparing that to animals, animals just see shapes, sizes, forms, things like that. How well must this predator not be camouflaged to other animals? And not just the prey, to other predators as well. but they are definitely, even though it is such a massive cliche, I know, they are definitely one of my favorite animals to observe on safari, on the cameras, but just in terms of everything, their behavior, of course, their beautiful looks. But I think the mere fact that they are so successful, even though it's a solitary animal, they make it work. Of course, they do have a lot of advantages, being able to voice their food and, keep it away from lions and hyenas. But there's just so many incredible things about leopards, and I'm sure many of you will agree with me. We've had some phenomenal sightings at Wild Earth with leopards specifically. For me personally, in the past 6 months, my favorite was by far that one morning that Taylor and Igor were out, and I think it was Marips that literally zoomed past them, and he was just on a stroll, and the next thing he zoomed towards a termite mound, and unfortunately he got a baby warthog, but he literally ran straight past Taylor and voiced it in a tree right next to the vehicle. And I can only imagine how she and Igor felt in that moment, but that for me has been my personal favorite. And this, of course, too. This has really made my day. But please let me know, who's your favorite Juma leopard and why? Or what's your favorite leopard sighting that we've had at Wild Earth? Hello, beautiful. You are just being such a model today. Mischief, good morning. You are saying your favorite is Tlalamba. She really is beautiful. I mean, yes, I too have seen her on safaris with other naturalists, virtually of course, just like all of you as well, but I did have that one sighting with Tess as well when I was in the Sabi Sand now, and she really was just so majestic. We literally, after the show even ended, after Sunset Safari ended, I think we were still following her for a good, 15, 20 minutes. And she was probably one of the most relaxed leopards I've ever seen. But they really are just incredible animals. I mean, it's difficult to say that a leopard is not a pretty animal. Oof, this wind is quite profuse today. But I was saying to our Zoomies as well, I think that is why we are also lucky with them. I know many of you have heard me say this before, but it definitely does help when there is a breeze. And especially now, slowly going into winter as well, you'll see a lot more predators active during the day as well. Because they are not as hot, they don't constantly have to rest. They are not exerting that much energy. You can just imagine he is loving this breeze. I mean, I'm not a leopard, so I don't know what he's thinking, but I can just imagine in the heat and humidity that all of these animals experience throughout summer, this is definitely a good welcome.
Hi, Wild Earth lovers. I'm Holly. I'm from Rochester, New York, and I'm a wildlife explorer. I'm also the proud and ecstatic recipient of a 3-night stay at Matswiri Safari Lodge in the Decoy Game Reserve. So Wild Earth, I want to thank you for being there. I want to thank you for this wonderful prize, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you shortly.
Sign up today and you could be the one experiencing it yourself.
And you can see he's definitely grooming himself. So after that, one of two things is going to happen. He's either going to plonk down and just nap a little bit more, or we might get a yawn or two and he might move off again. But how amazing, 11 o'clock in the middle of the day almost. It's hot. Yes, there is a little bit of a breeze, but we get to see a leopard out in the open. And just bear with us, I know the wind is making it a little bit difficult for us, as is the shade. But I do just want to keep my eye on him. I think he might get active again. As I say, either that or he's just going to nap some more. And these animals are definitely, in my personal experience and opinion at least, are definitely one of the most successful and intelligent hunters as well. Their camouflage does help them a lot, but specifically like in the winter times, you know, a lot of the areas will dry up, it becomes difficult for them. A lot of the other animals move due to lack of water, due to food. Even in a private game reserve, you can still sort of have like a mini migration where animals do move for food and water. There was actually a very cool video, I think it was released last year, of a leopard that was busy hunting catfish. And the next thing, he obviously didn't see a hippo that was also mud wallowing. He literally jumped onto the hippo and both of them got the fright of their life. But it's incredible to think, you know, even during the winter times, all of these animals know how to still get food, and specifically the prey animals, the herbivores. You would not think that there is nutrition left in the food in the winter times. Right now they are still doing good and well, and there's still a lot of nutrition. But in the winter time, things definitely change. But then in the winter times, a lot of the predators have a little bit more advantage, because then the bush is a little bit more dry. There's not as much hiding space. But that being said, there's also not as much hiding space for a predator. So it really goes both ways. There's pros and cons to everything in the wild. But just bear with me as I say, he's definitely getting a little bit more active. But if you have just joined us, welcome to a wonderful escape to nature. We are currently at Gowrie Dam at the beautiful Djuma Private Game Reserve. And if you look closely, use a little bit of, not lose, but use a little bit of imagination and a magnifying glass, you will see straight center screen, there is a beautiful leopard's head. And that is our Prince of Djuma, Maribs. A lot of you are very familiar with him. But we've not just had him on Escape to Nature. Andrew has had some general game in the beautiful Amakala. Lauren has had a cheetah already in Madikwe, and of course Ukukoyo is providing us with a lot of the general game there as well. So it has been a brilliant Escape to Nature. But remember, we are live, we are interactive, and we love to hear from you. So please do send me questions, comments, suggestions. If you are watching on the app or on the website, you can always just register, and that way you can get in touch with us. Otherwise, if you do also follow us on YouTube, just subscribe, and then we can let you know what you've been missing out on. But also just a quick reminder for donations. Of course, the mission of Wild Earth is to connect the world with nature. So if you would like to help us do that, please pop onto our website and you can just click donate. And you can also, with doing that, win some private safaris. So definitely go check that out. We really appreciate all of you so much who have donated and who give us your time every single day. We really appreciate all of you so much. But we've also got a quick message from James Henry for all of you. So let's take a look at that.
Towards the end of May, I'm going to be heading back to Djuma, which is one of my favourite places. Now, as many of you know, we need a little help keeping our operations going. For those of you who donate $100 or more, I'll take you on a private safari. It won't be entirely private, there may be 20 or so of you there. But you'll still be able to answer any questions that you might have. We'll visit all the places that you want to, and we'll look for all the characters that you'd like to see.
So I would definitely check that out if I were you. As many of you know, James is quite the character. And a virtual safari with him is already an adventure. So imagine going on a real safari in real life with him, not just in real time. But I do just quickly want to have a look-see around Gowrie Dam. As you all know, I like to just check the vicinities as well, even if we are monitoring one animal. I always believe it's good to just quickly have a look-see to see that no one else is around. Because you never know, he might jump up, disappear, and then what? We will just be left wondering what happened. Darcy Miller, oh, it's so wonderful to hear from you. You are saying your favorite leopards were Tungana, Tandi, Hukumuri, and Husana. Absolutely. I personally did not have a lot of experience with them. Tandi I knew. Tandi was a great legend in the sands. And I remember my aunt as well that lives in the Sabi Sand. She was heartbroken when Tandi actually passed away. But all of them are incredible, as you say, you know, the late legends, even the ones that we are lucky to have with us still now. And again, what a privilege to be able to spend time with these animals, to get to know them, to be able to ID them, not just by the actual markings on their face and their tails and the rest of their body, but just personalities as well. I think we are so blessed. And we don't always realize it, you know, we become very used to it and accustomed, and eventually if you go a couple of days without seeing a leopard, you're like, ugh, can we just see a leopard? But let's quickly head on over to Ukukoyo to see what's happening there. Sorry about that. The wind was making it a little bit difficult with the Djuma Dam cam. But we will try to get that back as soon as we can, as you can say. As you can see, as I said. Not too much has changed here. We've still got the zebras, the springbok. And it's not the same ones that we saw earlier on. You know, they come and go. But I would love to see the elephant herd again with a tiny, tiny baby. That truly was such a special moment for me on Monday. But keep them coming. Tell me, who's your favorite leopard? Whether it's one of our present legends or one of our late legends in Djuma. Or even here, if you want to tell me what's been your favorite animal here in Okokoyo, I would love to hear from all of you. It's something we've been hearing for quite some time now in Okokoyo, you know, the zebras neighing and of course vocalizing due to the rutting season and everything, but it really never gets old. I have to be honest with you, that is the one thing that I learned, especially when we still at the Mashatu Dan Cam. Every single day we saw elephants. And I love elephants. I mean, I'm addicted to elephants, but eventually you got so used to it. And that one day that you go without seeing elephants, or like here that you go without seeing any of the springbok or hearing the zebras, you sort of feel, I don't know, I feel like something is missing. But I will keep all of you posted. My reps is still lying down in Djuma as well, so I will definitely keep my eyes on him for you. But for now, I'm going to send you back to Lauren and her beautiful sleepy cheetah.
Our boy looks like he's fast asleep in the shade here. It's quite endearing to see them all, well, just snuggled up like that. I can't imagine it's very comfortable, but somehow he's making it look like it is very comfortable. And I touched on editor hierarchy that's not a hierarchy, everyone fits in. And I mentioned the sensory apparatus as well, I'm studying that extensively. Okay, I'll come back to that. We're going to send you guys back over to Lisa.
Sorry about that. We will just have Lauren reposition, and then we can show you that beautiful sighting again. Not much has changed here in the past minutes. All of the animals are still just coming to the water, enjoying it, whether it's to cool off or to actually quench their thirst. But it would be very interesting to hear from you guys. I know a lot of you do still monitor the different dam cams. Has there been any predator activity recently? Ooh, T, can we please go to Djuma? It seems like the prince is up. Ta-da! There is the leopard. If you were wondering if there's really a leopard here, now we can show you there really is a leopard here. And what a beautiful, beautiful sight. Oh, nice. He might actually give us another yawn. Or he might start walking now. And I think that used to be one of my favorite things to do on safari with guests. Like, oh, the lions are roaring, they're going to start walking now. Then guests think, oh wow, this ranger is the best thing since sliced bread. They know exactly what the animals are going to do. I mean, that is just, it's something that you get to see specifically with the cats, but something like a leopard and a lion. Just like us, when you yawn, your brain is trying to circulate more oxygen for you to be more alert and more awake. And that is exactly why leopards and lions do that. So they can actually be on alert, wide awake when they are busy walking. For various reasons. If they need to defend themselves against other predators, if they perhaps see something that they could potentially go for on the move. Now it's a little bit difficult to see him now, and again I do apologize about the wind and the shakes, but he is literally straight ahead of us just in this bush. I think a lot of the times I've thought, yes, the leopard is still right there, and then one of my colleagues say, okay, well, I've got the leopard at the waterhole now, and you're like, no, I'm still watching the bush that the leopard was in. But they are very elusive. They can be very sneaky. And the camouflage does not help us. It helps them a lot. So I've got my eyes peeled. I think he's still in that bush. But if you see anything that I miss, please do let me know. But from what I last saw, he went into that bush. Probably for some more shade. It might be heating up too much for him now. And the thing is, of course, if he's lying down, it's going to be extra difficult and tricky to see him. But I just want to have a look. Perhaps he's really on the move now and he might come out there again, but perhaps he literally just moved to a different spot of shade. Just bear with me. I just want to see if we're going to see some more movement. As I say, may have just hunkered down. That is what they do after all. Leopards, lions. Daytime is prime time for resting. But again, that doesn't mean we must confine them to certain behaviors and certain time frames that they move around or that they hunt or that they sleep. An animal is an interesting thing. They do whatever they like. And especially for me, I've personally found with leopards, they really, They've kept me busy on a lot of safaris. I suspect I'm going to try to see if we can take a closer look. As I said, maybe a little bit difficult with the wind. He's either hunkered down directly in this bush in the shade, or he's gone through it or around it and just went deeper into the bush for some more shade. Alright, we'll come back to this area. I do just want to check the actual waterhole and the plains, see if anyone else is around. But we can still listen out for, alarm calls from birds, squirrels, antelope. If he's on the move and something is around, they will definitely let him know. Listen, Kui, we've seen you. Unless the favor is not in their wind, which is not always ideal. But again, everyone's got to eat, whether you are a predator, a herbivore.
Our birthday. Join us in celebrating our sweet 16th on the 27th of April. We will be playing our top 16 moments that we've shared together on Wild Earth, as well as all of your birthday messages on channel for the big day.
And a big thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wild Earth.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Tune in and get ready to blow out the candles with us. It's Wild Earth's sweetest birthday bash yet.
Sorry about earlier. I believe my signal threw a wobbly. As we all do occasionally, signal does that too. I was beginning to explain the work of philosopher Jacob von Uexküll. I need to learn how to say that properly. I will, I promise. But for now, he was the one that originally proposed the concept and comparison of an animal's body to a house, with many sensory windows overlooking the garden. The garden is this beautiful landscape that we have in front of us right now. So that may sound really odd. What do you mean comparing an animal to a house? Well, if you think about it, a lot of scientists, a lot of great work, a lot of literature really hones in on one sense. And this is quite limiting because if you think about doing this when looking at any animal in the animal kingdom, you're literally just looking through a single window. It's very one dimensional. And in order to fully appreciate a species and understand how it does survive and thrive, how it does navigate its landscape, how it is the same or is similar to other cats, talking about a cheetah, or how it differs from other cats. I think Andrew was talking about taxonomy earlier. So to really look at an animal, you've got to sort of really utilize this metaphorical house and look at the animal in its entirety. And it's only over the course of my career that I have got better at doing that. And that's a natural progression for humans. When you're learning about something, you do isolate. You do look through a single window because you want to learn every single component. But once you get to a certain stage, it's really important that you stop just looking at everything so singularly and looking at it in its entirety. And I love this metaphor of the house because for me, it really makes sense when looking at any species. A cheetah, a leopard, a bird, an elephant, a mosquito, whatever you like, it makes sense. You have to look within that house, if you like, to see how animals combine all their sensory information from the outside world to the inside world. So you have to look through every window at once. And that's a difficult concept for us humans to get your head around. Animals are not using one sense at a time, and I think sometimes we forget that. If you think dogs are masters of smell, but look at the size of their ears. Wild dogs, their ears are huge. That's telling you something right there. Owls are the masters of hearing, but look at their huge eyes. We always talk about how well they hear, but look at the size of their eyes. Jumping spiders, the cutest spiders of the bush, they have massive eyes in comparison to the size of their body. It's all relative. But they're also extremely sensitive to detecting vibrations traveling through their little feet, all 8 of them. And they're also really sensitive to sounds, airborne sounds that are actually detected in hairs along their body. But when we look at them, we see their eyes. We think of their eyes, huge eyes, good sight. So those are just a few examples of how we limit our understanding of an animal by just looking through one of those windows in the house. And that's really what I try to do out here. I try to think what it's like to be that animal. And I'll never know, not in this lifetime. But at least if we try to understand how that organism perceives its world, we will understand that organism better. And if you think about it, each sense has pros and cons, even for us. For humans, some of our senses are stronger than others. Some people have really weak eyes. Some people have rubbish hearing. Some people can't smell at all. So it's not all equal amongst individuals. But on a collective sort of basis, there are pros and cons to every sense. Because some senses are really useful with regards to some stimulus and some situations, but not in all. In other situations, are completely useless. So when it comes to senses, you're constantly adapting without even being consciously aware of it. You're constantly using different senses for different situations, and animals do exactly the same. So basically, any organism is really tapping into as many streams of information, if you like, visual stream, audio stream, chemical stream, as much as possible. I guess as much as the nervous system can handle at one time to get a bigger picture of the environment. They're not just looking, if that makes sense. They're looking at the prey, but that's not it. They'll be doing so many other things to get a bigger picture of what it is they're actually looking at. And I think when you really start to think like that, just think of the house, all the windows, And peering through each window, one room is sight, one room is chemoreceptors, one room is vibrations, one room is hearing, one room is taste. And they're all peering out into the garden, and the garden happens to be whatever habitat you find that creature in. And I don't know what you guys think. You're welcome to share your opinions, but I really like that metaphor. It just tries to make you think a little bit bigger. So when you want to learn about an animal's sight, go into that room, but then come back out of that room and don't forget about the house in its entirety. And if you think, senses always complement each other. They work together. They're not opposing. They complement. Stephanie, I'm not entirely sure how camouflage would be a sense. A sense is not limited by our five senses that we were taught while we were a child as completely the wrong way of looking at it. But it's a faculty, I guess, by which your body, no matter what organism you are, perceives external stimulus. So it also processes that and understands it. So whether that is echolocation in a bat, electroreception in a shark, chemoreception in wild dogs, hearing in owls, it's a way of obtaining information through different faculties to perceive the world around you. So I'm not really sure how camouflage would apply to being a sense. Camouflage is a mechanism that many animals have adapted to blend into their surroundings. So it benefits them in terms of survival, but it's not a faculty that's bringing in information. It's not a way for that animal to glean information about its external world, if that makes sense. So I would say no, it's definitely not a sense. It's an adaptation. And of course, there are many different types of camouflage. There are many different ways that animals can blend in, or animals can break up their body outline, or they can even mimic being other animals. Look at butterflies, mimicry. Or they can pretend to be a flower. Look at the flower mantis. But I wouldn't describe that as a sense. Your senses give you information, and it can be in many different ways. It's not just the five that we think is all that we have. Animals are using all sorts of senses at one time. I mean, think of sharks. Sharks use their sense of smell in a liquid medium, but it's still smell. And smell will guide sharks to food over huge distances. But vision and that lateral line that is present in all fishes take over once the sort of distance diminishes. And then during the final moments before a shark is about to hunt, they're using that electrosense. So at different stages of the hunt and at different stages of understanding the environment, the shark is using different senses. So it's actually complementing and combining them all to get a greater picture of what is going on around the shark. Some animals are using the Earth's magnetic field. Some animals are using the stars, or perceiving and understanding the stars on how to navigate. They have an apparatus, they have a means, a faculty of understanding that information. Even if we don't understand it as humans, they have a means of understanding it. So going back to the house, the metaphor of the house, no two organisms really are going to have the same house. but they're not really comparable. I find it quite off-putting nowadays when people compare, that famous, an elephant has a sense of smell 5 times greater than a bloodhound. What are you trying to say? It's not possible to compare an elephant and a dog. It's not really realistic or appropriate to do that. So every organism will have their own house, but when you want to learn about that species, it's important to get into that house and try and understand what senses it's using. Sharks get blamed a lot for their attacks. There's a lot of hatred towards sharks, a lot of fear. My goodness, a lot of people say to me, "Oh, how do you jump in the ocean? Are you not scared to get eaten by a shark?" But no, I'm not. I'm in their realm at the end of the day, and I'm visiting their world. But also, they've got to understand how a shark operates, how it functions, how it survives and thrives in the ocean. What senses is it using? A lot of shark attacks, okay, maybe not them all, but a lot are mistakes. You're a living being with a heartbeat and an electrical impulse and blood pumping through your veins, veins and brain, splashing around on the surface in their habitat. Do they think you're a seal or a turtle? Very possibly. If they're just detecting your heartbeat and your behavior and the splashes and the vibrations, they might get it wrong. Let's not hate on them for it. Lions kill many people in Africa every year, and a lot of it is hidden from the media. They kill a lot of people. But yet there's so much more hatred for sharks, and I just think it's a lack of understanding, it's a lack of willingness, it's fear, and a lack of willingness to get inside that house, go inside the house, realize how really epically cool sharks are. Oh, do you want to get inside that house? No, you don't like sharks. That's okay. Anyway, I just find the sensory world so interesting, and I'm obviously just learning about it myself, but I just wanted to share that house metaphor with you. So please do share your thoughts with me. I would really, really love to hear what you think about that metaphor. And as you mull it over, we're going to send you guys all the way to the Eastern Cape.
Okay, so we are here on one of the viewpoints, and we're just looking around, enjoying the nice, beautiful scenery here in Amakhala. But the male lion, he was spotted somewhere here around here this morning, and we're just scanning and trying to look for him. It's a great possibility he's hiding, or maybe he's moved, maybe he's looking for the females, we don't know. But just beautiful just to be up here, isn't it? Look at this, you can see everything from up here. Just wonderful. You can hear some hardy-dars. They're alarm calling up here. It's difficult to say if it's an alarm call or not, because hardy-dars, they do panic for what seems like no reason. But there's always a reason. Now it's actually very still and calm up here. The wind, obviously from the last few days, has subsided, and it does seem like the cold front is moving out. Not too sure what the temperature is going to be today, but it's very pleasant to be out. But the last few days, I must say, have been pretty difficult, especially the one day with the bitterly icy cold wind. That was not an easy day to be out. So we are grateful for what the weather is doing now. But I do hear that there's going to be a day of 35 degrees coming up. So back to shorts and shirt. It's going to be awesome. Can put these jackets away. Just saw a familiar chat that just flew past us now. Familiar chat. Quite a unique name for a bird. But it's interesting actually how they get the Afrikaans name, these familiar chats. The Afrikaans name for it is the gewone spekvreter. So back in the day, with the ox wagons, and this is very much settlers' land, so back in the 1820s, there would have been ox wagons and so on, with the wooden wheels. And they used to actually grease the axles with animal fat. Now the familiar chat was noticed going onto the axles and actually grabbing little mouthfuls of fat, and so easily got the name quickly after that, a gewone spekvreter. Common fat eater, that's it, spekvreter. Now this basin that you're looking at is such a special, can I say, feature on Amakhala. And on this ridge where we're at now, there are so many different places that you can drive to have a nice little lookout. And each one of them are special. So we're on the sort of the northern side of the ridge. So all the way on the side. Whereas God's Window and those areas, they're more central on the ridge. And then Aloe Lookout being on the other side. Now we've spotted amazing things. I remember with BK, we actually spotted a herd of elephants walking through the basin from at the top. And the safari guides have been searching for them all morning with no luck. And we actually could see them in the thicket from up here. And we watched them come out and we did a lovely piece on it. Chelsea, that is a lovely question. Thank you very much for that. So the Albany thicket is almost like a forest. There's certain plants inside the Albany thickets that don't grow outside the Albany thickets. And inside those Albany thickets, you're looking at very well-established trees and so on, like the Karoo boerbeens and milkwoods and sneezewoods, and various other types, wild olives as well, which take a very long time to grow. Some of the trees out in the Albany thickets, they can get very, very old. Naming one of them is a yellowwood. Now, we don't see yellowwood on Amakhala, but yellowwood is famous to be a part of the Albany thicket. And they are known as living fossils because they've been around since Jurassic times and has not changed over a very, very long time, or there's been very little change. And basically, dinosaurs used to feed on yellowwoods, and we're seeing yellowwoods today. So they're classified as living fossils. But now the fynbos is more shrubs and dwarf shrubs and small little bushies or bushes. What is bushies? Bushes. And have got a very, very strong smell. And again, there are certain animals that might be associated to fynbos that you're not going to find outside the fynbos, which is very interesting, much like the Albany thicket. There are certain birds inside the Albany thickets and insects and things like that that you're not going to find outside the Albany thicket. Now fynbos has been well known that it does well in fire and helps to crack the seed cases and so on so that germination can take place. So the Western Cape, there are some fires that happen out there, and once the fire starts, you cannot believe how it just becomes an inferno because of all the oils in the plants. It just burns, and burns very quickly like fuel or petrol. I'll just give you a bit more information. Of the 7 biomes found in Southern Africa, or South Africa, we on Amakhala have got, I think it's 5 or 6 of those 7 biomes. And because of it, there is diversity out here, rich, rich diversity. There's over 300 species of birds found out here. And if you think about it, Amakhala is around about 9,000 hectares, almost 10,000 hectares, which sounds, it is quite a large area. But to think, just on Amakhala, there's about 300 species of birds. Incredible. So from time to time we get bird watchers from all over the country and abroad to come and have a look at these birds because of the richness and diversity of it. I can just hear a southern boo-boo calling around here. Always nice to hear them up here on the ridge. Now, when it comes to the botany sides of things, again, there's so many different plants. I don't know what the exact count is on the plants, or the general count is, but in the Eastern Cape, there are well-known botanists that come through, and they identify all the different types of plants, and they're still learning about some of the plants. Sometimes botanists come through. I remember one of the reserves I worked at, some botanists came through, and we were struggling to identify a good number of plants that they were also battling with. So they actually took DNA samples, so just little snippings of the plant, and they took it back to their, I don't know, laboratories or whatever you want to call it, and they identified through the DNA side of things what plants are what. So it can be very tricky, and there's a lot of plants out here that I don't know. What have you got there, Morgan?
No, nothing. I'm just going into this plant and
Okay, cool. Morgan's going to show you a plant. Which one are you looking at? This wiry one?
no, that brown, big green.
Okay, that's a guarri, that one over there. That's a very healthy looking guarri, isn't it? Lovely little round canopy. I love these plants, and to explain it to people is always a pleasure, because you can actually make toothbrushes from those trees. You can also make fire beaters from those trees. And guarris, they grow very hard, if I can say. It's a very hardy plant, and it does have quite a tough wood. It doesn't look like much, but it's a very tough plant, that. Now, this is the common guarri. There's also a few Natal guarris, so you have to look very carefully to find them. And then in places like Djuma and Pridelands, it's more the blue guarri that is occurring up there, which has got a bigger leaf and it's a bit more bluey in color. Now, I believe the guarri has also got a bit of an antibacterial property to it, so hence the reason why they make toothbrushes out of them. But if you take some of the leaves and you crush them and you add a little bit of water and you crush it more, you become a little bit like a paste. Apparently that can be used as an antibacterial. So if you have any marks on the body and little cuts that you don't want to get infected, you can actually make an antibacterial paste from guarri. I don't know what it is about the guarri, but when there is a fire that moves through an area, often enough, guarris are still left standing and the leaves are not badly burnt at all. So there's something in the plant that helps it to resist fire to a degree. And that's the reason why people would make fire beaters out of them, and still do. And then back in the day of the voortrekkers as well, they used to clean out their ox wagons. They used to make brushes from the guarris, remove the leaves, and make a nice little brush. You can make brooms out of them. And I know local tribes, like the Xhosa people back in the day, they used to clean the areas where they lived. They used to clean out the huts and so on, make a nice little broom or a brush. Okay, we're going to move on a bit. I think let's head off to Lisa, who is on dam cams there at Ukukuyo.
Thank you, Andrew. Glad you guys are having so much fun out there. Still not much has changed this side. I have scanned the whole of Djuma for Maribs. And he's literally either disappeared into the bush or he's gone flat cat, as we like to call it. But as you can see, things have calmed down a little bit here in Ukukuyo. However, we've still more or less got many of the same species that we did before. The zebras, the springbok. Here and there we see some wildebeests as well. But what a beautiful day it has been. We've really been lucky with everything that we've gotten to see today. And as always, you know, there is still some time left on Escape to Nature, so get in touch with us. Ask us some questions. I always joke and say that technically, you know, Escape to Nature can also be a Ask Me Anything session for all of the naturalists, really. For Lauren, Andrew, myself, and whoever is on Escape to Nature as well. So if you want to know anything about us, you are more than welcome to ask us. Furthermore, of course, if you want to learn more about the animals, let us know which ones. We know all of you are very clued up and very avid viewers, not just of Escape to Nature, but of our other safaris as well. So I would love to hear from you. Or perhaps you've got some quizzes for us. You are more than welcome to challenge us as well. As I always say, you are never too old or too experienced or too qualified to learn anything. There is a lot that all of you beautiful people can teach us as well. But as you can very clearly see, it is very dry in Ukukuyo. We've not yet had rain, and to be honest with you, I'm not too optimistic for the rest of the month, or the rest of the season, I should say. It is looking a little gloomy and bleak. But luckily, this is a man-made waterhole, which is a good thing, not just for the animals, but to the actual viewers as well, the actual visitors that come to this beautiful area. Because in the winter time, when a lot of the other water holes are busy drying up, and some of them have dried up already, then this one is still able to provide them with some water to cool off. I remember my mom saying it was chilly here in winter, but there was still some form of humidity. Hi Nadine. It's always so interesting when we get various voices in our ears. And Nadine, I have to tell all of you, is the one that told me this morning as soon as I came into the office, "Oh, we might have Maribs today on Escape to Nature." And as I say, I was literally like, I never like to get my hopes up anymore, especially for the leopards. It's always good to have hope, but it's better to be surprised than be disappointed. Not that I'm disappointed ever with everything that we see. But that really has been such a treat. And I'm quite surprised at how calm it is right now at the waterhole. Of course, you know, it's midday, it's hot, it's the heat of the day. And that is perhaps why the animals are sticking to the tree line, sticking to the shade, much like Maribs did as well. We had quite a few nice views of him, but all of them were in the shade. It's hot. You can imagine, it's the same for us, you know. When you are out in the open, unless you're in front of a swimming pool or the beach or the actual ocean, you do not really want to be in the sunshine if you are not going to be rewarded with either shade or water. really has been such a beautiful day. And I would love to hear from all of you. What has been your highlight? Perhaps the landscape with Andrew, or the cheetah with Lauren, or Mr. Maribs at Juma, or just as always the beautiful animals that we get to see in Ukukuyo. This really has become a very, very special place in my heart. And we've had some phenomenal sightings here. But what has been your favorite today? And it's insane to think how quickly the time goes by. Almost 3 hours has bypassed us. We've got some more zebras coming down to the waterhole, which is definitely not a species that we've been missing out on. They've been very loyal to visit us here at this waterhole, not just for the past few weeks, I would say the past few months now. Literally since January, there's been daily sightings of them. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking, Lisa, a zebra is a very general species to see and a common species to see. Agreed. As is the springbok, especially in a region like this where it's vast and open. But you never know. In 10 years' time, we might not have these views available to us anymore. It might be, and I don't mean to make us negative now for the day. I'm just saying that we have to embrace and appreciate everything when we do get to experience it. But it might be different. In 10 years' time, this might look different. A lot of the species might cease to exist here because they can no longer adapt and acclimate. Jacinta, so good to hear from you. Why are you coming with the difficult questions now? No, I'm kidding. For me personally, a very cliche one would be an impala lily. For those of you that are not familiar with them, please do go look them up. That was also actually one of the highlights now when I was visiting my aunt in the Sabi Sand. Ooh, apologies for the lesser spotted Homo sapien. I love impala lilies, and what's very interesting and fascinating about them is they flower in the winter time, which is strange. A lot of the, especially the flowers, you know, they plant, they flower in the spring and the summertime. So, and my previous lodge where I used to work as well, it used to be filled. Well, actually, it's still filled. I was there recently. It's filled with impala lilies throughout the lodge. And if you are not familiar with them, check them out. It's this beautiful, vibrant pink flower. And they don't have a lot of leaves around them or anything. It's a very strange plant, but I definitely enjoy them. A devil's thorn as well, you know, merely for the fact that it's such a fascinating plant. Like, wow, you can create some soap. And to be honest with you, I enjoy all of the flowers, especially in the bushveld. In an area like this, I'm not too familiar with the flowers. However, we did have a flower day here in Ukukuyo the one day, and it was not very successful. As you can see, this is not really a flowery location. But we did see the yellow devil's thorn here a couple of months ago, so that was very interesting. And Jacinta, I also enjoy a dainty pavonia, just because it's a cute name. But it's also a very beautiful yellow flower. And then in terms of plants, I love marula trees for the various things, you know, that they can be used for. Even this tree that we have on the left side of this waterhole, a leadwood, they are also very, I almost want to say efficient trees or practical trees. You can use their bark, their roots, their leaves for various things. And I always wonder about these things, you know, plants that are very poisonous. How many trials and errors did there have to be for people to realize, whoa, that is the tree we should not be touching? Jacinta, my favorite Latin name, however, for a tree is a violet tree, which is Securidaca longipedunculata. And that is, in fact, it's a very poisonous tree. Very, very lethal, the actual roots. But I enjoy everything. I have to be very honest with you, Jacinta. Something like a magic quarry as well. The fact that you can use them for fire extinguishers. A silver cluster leaf tree, the fact that you can use that for toothache, that they used it in the olden days to actually polish their silverware and things like that. Everything out here, whether it's lethal, poisonous, beautiful, colorful, I think it's just so incredible. And I think we are I think it's just so incredible that we do get to learn about these things. Nadine is saying her favorite is the round leaf teak. I too like that one. Of course, they've got beautiful, beautiful leaves. They make brilliant coasters. And I always say, you know, if I'm really in a dire position where I have to be able to use toilet paper, because I know all of the naturalists say, oh, use the weeping wattle because it's so soft. Do you know how many layers you would need to use and how gross that situation can very quickly become? I always say, why not just use the round leaf teak? I have. And it works very, very well. Much better than the actual weeping wattle. But thank you for that question, Jacinta. You know, it's something I don't often think of. I always think of actual ethology and animal behavior and the mammals and the reptiles and the bird calls and all of that. It's very rarely that I think, what is my favorite plant? But I enjoy all of them. And I'm sure many of you have seen as well, you know, especially when Steve delves into flora and plants and all of that. It becomes very, very fascinating. I know last week he delved a little bit into the leaf structures and how you can actually identify the various trees just by looking at the leaf structures. And then it actually becomes fairly simple, or simpler I should say, not simple. There's nothing out here is simple, let's be honest. But speaking of which, Jacinta, you just brought up the flowers. So speaking of which, of course, the Flora Fest is happening from the 13th to the 15th of April. So each afternoon, Steve will be doing a medicinal plant preparation. And this will be in celebration of International Plant Appreciation Day, which is the 13th of April. And then for mushrooms, it's the 16th of April. How cool is that? But I have to be honest with you, every time Steve delves into some or other plant, whether it's a plant I know very well and I think I've got a lot of experience with, there's definitely something I too learn every time as well.
We hope that when you watch Wild Earth, you will fall in love with nature. We know that our explorers share a passion for nature and want to make a difference. Wild Earth Schools is back. Sign up to be an explorer and your subscription will help us reach the future conservationists of our planet. Invest in something that truly matters, encouraging children to care for our beautiful Wild Earth. Wild Earth Explorers, make a difference.
Starbuck, good afternoon. How do animals avoid incest to keep the gene pool strong? Very good question. And believe me, this happens. Interestingly enough, with your general game, as we refer to them, something like a kudu, a springbok, a zebra, eventually the male will move off and he will join bachelor herds. So then they will, of course, have to go through the rutting and the establishing of harems, whichever species you are looking at in terms of the general game. And for the most part, that can actually be avoided. But with predators, it becomes a little bit more tricky. A lot of the reserves I used to work on, they actually did, I almost want to say exchange. So you say to a reserve, hi, listen, we've got 30 female lions on our reserve. These are the approximate ages. These are the gene pools. This one pride consists of a mother, a sister, and their cubs, or whatever the case is. And you sort of submit that to another reserve or suggest that. And they'll tell you, okay, well, great. We've got 3 males. We actually want to move one of the males because they might kill each other because it's becoming very aggressive, whatever the situation is. And you exchange. So you say, okay, great. We'll give you 3 females if you can give us 2 males, or wherever you find yourself. A lot of reserves, a lot of national parks handle it differently. But that being said, I don't know if you know this, but lions can go 6 generations of incest, quote unquote, before it becoming a problem with disformities, things like that within the actual individuals. Which is incredible because that means they have to have brilliant genes. And again, how was this designed? It's amazing if you think about it, because Mother Nature knows, to some extent, whatever your beliefs are, but that these animals, it's going to happen. They are prides. The males eventually do go into their prime. And yes, they establish territories and all of that, but sometimes you will have males that don't necessarily always leave their pride. So it's definitely possible. It can happen. So that is how Mother Nature sort of controls those things. But as I say, you will have reserve management that also controls those sort of aspects. With cheetahs, with lions, specifically with your bigger predators, they will definitely do that. And it's a very, I almost want to say, dragged out process. There's a lot of paperwork that goes, if you do it legally or the correct way. But there's a lot of processes that goes into it. You can't just send someone a message and say, hi, we've got 2 lions. Do you want our 2? And then you can give us your 2. There's a lot of processes that go through it. Just like when you, as an owner of a private game reserve, are establishing a game reserve now to introduce wild animals to, you have to be able to prove with a lot of legal documents and people coming to inspect your area that there is enough space for all of the animals that you are now wanting to introduce. But also then you sort of have to forecast for the next 5 or 10 years that obviously these animals are going to be reproducing at some stage. So will there still be enough land, enough space, enough food, enough water for all of those animals? And it's a difficult thing, sometimes you can get it wrong very, very easily, especially with your private game reserves. And even with a place like this, Etosha National Park, there's a lot of planning that goes into it. People always think, okay, well, the animals just live here and that's how it goes. You have to still be able to forecast for years from now. Will there still be enough of everything for all of the animals? And it's a tricky thing. Because as humans, like we do, we take over everywhere and we also expand. So we are erecting more lodges, we are erecting more infrastructure, which is now limiting the animal's space. But it's a good question, very, very, very good question. So it really goes both ways. but Mother Nature is clever, And if incest does eventually happen, then sad to say, but then it also becomes survival of the fittest. If there are deformities and things like that, I've seen that unfortunately with lions, where there was a deformed lion and unfortunately it did not make it. So it happens. And that's not just for lions, it's for all of these animals. But somehow everything is just calculated and worked out perfectly. And that's why I always say, I know I touch on this so much, but that's why I always say to an extent, I'm very grateful for where we're at with regard to, wildlife and conserving them and rehabilitating them and protecting them. Because unfortunately, at the end of the day, bad guys will always be around. So there will be people that want to hurt the animals, that want to go after them, that want to poach them, kill them. But to another extent, I wish that we never started interfering, that all of these animals could just thrive and carry on their own, and they do, We keep erecting fences and confining them, and they just carry on. And the thing with Mother Nature is, as soon as you start interfering, you have to keep on interfering, because that balance has now been broken. Like a lot of the times, I know a lot of you ask us, when will we decide to interfere with an injury of an animal? It's a difficult decision to make, and for me personally, I've been involved in the actual game management department of a private game reserve, a big private game reserve. There were about 32,000 hectares. And there's a lot of thinking, discussion, planning that goes into it, because you can't help one animal and not help the rest. But also you can't leave something like a rhino to die if it was, let's say, punctured by another rhino in combat. So it becomes a very, very, very long process. And but I always say, Mother Nature will take care of itself. She will sort herself out when it comes to incest, when it comes to gene pools, niches. You've actually opened my mind a lot now, Starbuck, with that question, because incest has a human connotation. Because for us, we know that, okay, yes, it goes back to science as well, with regard to DNA and gene pools and all of that. But when we think of incest, we think like, ugh, you can't marry your brother, or you can't, whatever the case is. So would that be the same for animals, or does it just come down to the DNA mix-up? But before I get too carried away with that, we've got some elephants in Djuma, so let's go check them out. Look how beautiful this is. It really has been a mind-blowing day for me. I don't know who of you will agree with me, but seeing Marips the leopard for such a lengthy time that we did and got to spend time with him, and now 2 elephants also. And I was actually, delving in on that whole incest thing, when it comes to the animal kingdom as well. And definitely their genes are much stronger to a certain degree. As I say, if lions can go 6 generations before it becoming a problem, and I'm not saying that's the case all over, that is the norm or the rule of thumb, but not necessarily always the case. And yes, I was starting to think about that a lot, and as I glanced over at Djuma just to see what's happening, these 2 beauties showed up. Djuma has really been treating us, Nadine. Oh man, I was hoping the elephants would come towards the left side to see if they could flush out Mr. Maribs if he was still in fact around. But you never know, maybe he's taken off long ago. As I say, I did try to see if he is still around, and unless he is flat cat, I did not spot him. However, it is a little bit windy now, so the animals do move deeper into the bush. That is also perhaps why the elephant has not even picked up his scent if he is in fact still around. But what a treat! To be honest with you, that is the last thing I expected to see today. Riley, good afternoon. You are saying so special to see elephants in Djuma. Is it not? And I mean, elephants are my favorite, so I'm always secretly hoping that, oh, come on, let's see elephants. But I mean, after my ribs, I am so, I almost want to say fulfilled, that I did not think we needed anything else. And it's not just because they are part of the big five or anything, it's just been so brilliant to get to see all of these animals. And it's a fairly windy day, so I would definitely, if I were all of you, I would definitely tune in for Sunset Safari. I will be doing so, because you never know. And perhaps the wind dies down, you know, and it's a fairly calm drive. But for me personally, in my experience, I've had some phenomenal sightings with this sort of weather. But remember, if you have missed out on the whole Escape to Nature, you can just check out the best bits, or as we call it, the highlights, a little bit later, and that's available on the app as well as YouTube. So you can always just stay updated with whatever has been happening today. But if you did miss it, I will quickly give you an update. Lauren had a beautiful cheetah sighting in Madikwe, as well as some wildebeest. Andrew saw some wonderful blesbok, and of course the wonderful, wonderful landscapes that Amakhala has to offer. And then we've just had two beautiful elephant bulls. We've had Maribs the leopard, as well as all of the springboks, zebra, and everything else that comes to the Okukuya waterhole. So if you've missed all of that, definitely check out the highlights later. No, don't go! I'll never forget one of my best sightings as well, but it was unfortunately so brief, and it was one of those wonderful days where Lisa forgot to charge her camera. But I had a leopard sighting, and the next thing we could just hear trees breaking. And this leopard, I don't know why, but did not move. And there was an elephant that came through, but this elephant was really, you could see it was not in a good mood. So it must have either picked up the scent of the leopard or something just made it really angry beforehand. And it came like thrashing and rushing through the bush, swinging its trunk. And it literally walked past the leopard, and the leopard just hunkered down, much like that behavior that we saw with Maribs and Momowati that day in the tree with a kill. Same body language, behavior, a lot of submission, and that leopard literally, I think it stopped breathing for a minute long. And it just allowed the elephant to bypass it, and by some miracle, luckily the elephant did not see it. But they were literally so close to each other. So you never know, these elephants might stick around for the day. You can always keep an eye on the actual camera, even when we are not on Escape to Nature. You can just keep an eye on the cameras, on the app or on YouTube. It's always interesting to follow it along. Terry, you are very welcome. And it's definitely been one of my most memorable ones as well. And you're very welcome. It's a pleasure from my side, from Lauren's side, and of course Andrew as well. And our wonderful cameramen, Rian and Morgan. Oh, that's nice. But it definitely has been a favorite for me too. I am with you on that one. Was a good day. But I will be back tomorrow, keeping an eye on our waterholes, and of course keeping all of you posted on Escape to Nature. I hope all of you have had a brilliant day with us. Lenny, you are so welcome. And thank you, all of you, our wonderful directors, our tech team, our Zoomies that help us out on the Djuma Dam Cam. But most of all, we cannot do any of this without any of you wonderful viewers. So thank all of you for your questions, your comments, suggestions. Even if you did send nothing, but you were just with us for the whole day, I cannot tell you how much that means to me personally. Just to know that all of you have an interest and a fascination, and you want to learn more about wildlife, and you want to observe them. Just being in their natural habitat is just incredible. But what an awesome day. And as I say, join us for Sunset Safari. You never know. I did tell Trishala and Steve where I last saw Maribs, and I told them what time as well, and showed them the location. So hopefully they'll be able to follow up for all of you this afternoon on Sunset Safari. And hopefully Mr. Fluffy Ears shows himself again. But what a beautiful, beautiful day. And again, thank you to all of you. I cannot tell you how much you all mean to all of us. And hopefully we'll have some more fun tomorrow. I know we will. Whether we see leopards, elephants, whatever we see. We'll definitely still have a lot of fun tomorrow. And if it's very calm and very peaceful, who knows? We'll do a few anagrams or quizzes. But thank you so much for a wonderful day, everyone. I hope everyone has a beautiful Thursday. Please stay safe and please, please, please keep loving wildlife and never, ever, ever desert them. There goes our elephant. Have a beautiful Thursday, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow.